Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on the Arrowverse and just, well, DC TV as a whole. So, of course, we love the crossovers that go on within the Arrowverse and maybe even include some other shows or other characters not connected specifically to Arrowverse shows, you know, as like main cast members. We love them. And the Arrowverse has really been the only universe on TV that's been able to do it more than once, but just on a consistent basis. The only other property I can think of that does it every now and then and is somewhat consistent with it, but definitely not on the hype level as the Arrowverse shows, is those like Chicago based like medical and hospital, or medical and hospital are the same thing, but like the fire station, the police station show, those shows, I think they have a crossover every now and then. But the Arrowverse is the only one that's done it on, you know, consistently well received and just consistent on like in regards to like year by year. Now, of course, due to what's been going on in the world at the moment, we haven't been able to get them, which is a bit unfortunate. Now, we will include something that we'll include it as a crossover just for the sake of this list, which we did get earlier this season, which was throughout the Flash. And fingers crossed that we do get something at the end of this year, because it will mark the 10th year anniversary of the Arrowverse. So surely you'd have to think that they're planning a crossover. And it seems like all the shows are going to get renewed, because today, from when I'm watching, I'm making the video, like they were talking about the Batwoman and Legends finales, and apparently they aren't like wrapping up as series, like they don't feel like series finale, so they must think that they're getting other seasons, but they don't air for like another week and a half from when I'm making this video. Not too sure when this video is coming out though. But of course, we do have that Earth Prime crossover, the comic one, which comes out in beginning of April, I think it is, or yeah, I think beginning of April, or is it May? I think it's April or May, which maybe after that we can do another list or something on a live stream or something and include that. But throughout this video, we're going to be ranking all the Arrowverse crossovers that have come so far. So as I said, we're including what happened at the beginning of the Flash this season, Armageddon. So we have 9. So from the beginning, we have Flash versus Arrow. We had something else attached to it, but I'm just going to call it Flash versus Arrow for the sake of this video. Then we had the Legends of Tomorrow setup crossover, which I have written down was called Heroes Join Forces, because I think that's what they use on the advertising material. So Heroes Join Forces, or the Legend of Tomorrow set up with Vandal Savage and all of that. Then we have the Flash and Supergirl first crossover they did on Supergirl, which was called World's Finest, or that's what the episode was called. Then we have Invasion. And then we have the Flash Supergirl musical crossover, which was on the Flash, but it was called Duet. Then we have Crisis on Earth X, Elseworlds, Crisis on Infinite Earths, and then Armageddon. So you could debate whether Armageddon should be included. If you don't think it should, you can just take it out of my list and just, you know, put everything up a place, if you want to call it. So instead of something being position 9, it's in position 8 and vice versa. So I'm going to go from my least favorite to my favorite. That's how I'm going to rank it. And I will just leave the list of rankings in the description down below, or I might even leave it as like the top comment, so you can just copy all the names and then just rearrange them the way you want to do it. I think most people will probably line up with what I'm saying, especially probably at least the top 2, I think, but maybe even like the top 4 or 5. I don't know. It really depends, because I personally know someone, not going to name names, that would put what I have as the worst one, or my least favorite one, as like probably one of their favorites, maybe like in the top 3. So it's probably going to vary, but I'm curious to read the comments on what everyone would rank it. But yeah, so let me know your rankings in the comment section down below. It would be awesome to see what everyone puts down there. And of course, if you enjoy the video and just want to show your support, why not drop a like on the video to do all that. So let's go through it. At number 9, the bottom spot, and this isn't saying it's terrible. It's not saying I hate it with every single passion. It's just number 9. It's just the bottom of the list. It doesn't mean it's terrible. It's just the bottom of the list. And that's the Flash Supergirl musical crossover, Duet. Now, I have my reasonings for putting it down here. I still am salty about this crossover because, in my opinion, I've said this before when I talked about the Flash season 3, and some people might be going, oh, this is a broken record. You've said this so many times, but just for the context of why I put it down the bottom, it ruined so much momentum for the back half of the Flash season 3 and ruined Wally's story arc for that season that I just am so triggered by it. And it should have just been on Supergirl. I don't know why I was on the Flash. But the actual crossover, it's fine. It just feels so expendable. Like they never reference back to it really in the Arrowverse. It's really just expendable. It almost feels like it was a pipe dream, like it just never happened or something like that. It just feels like it was just a non-entity. So for me, I don't think I've rewatched it since it aired. Maybe I rewatched it when I did a season 3 Flash rewatch, but I might have just skipped the episode because it wasn't really overly relevant outside of ruining Wally's arc and just skipping over it really quickly. So yeah, it's just down the bottom. Number 8, people might think this is a trend and like, oh my god, you're hating on these just type of crossovers. But then I have the Flash Supergirl first crossover, World's Finest, and this was a fun, cute crossover. But once again, it just established, it was really pretty much just to bring Supergirl into the Arrowverse. That was pretty much, it was just them to set that up so then they could use Supergirl in the future crossovers. And there's something which later in the list, some people might think I ranked a bit low, and that's just because there's a similar sort of reasoning as to, to why I have it that low. But in regards to this Flash Supergirl first crossover, the World's Finest one, as I said, it's fun, it's cute, gets to build Barry and Kara's friendship up, which is, outside of Barry and Oliver, was probably the strongest friendship in regards to, other characters from other shows that we had. But it just wasn't that big, I think it'd be silly if I had it any higher, to be completely honest. If I had it any higher, I think I'd be kidding myself. At number 7, we have the Legends of Tomorrow's setup crossover, which is Heroes Join Forces, which was really this was the second year that they had the crossover. So this was during Flash season 2. So this was on their initial crossover, but you had like Hawkman and Hawkgirl and all this different stuff going on. And it was a cool crossover, but I feel that it's sort of similar to the duet thing with the musical crossover. It sort of damaged Legend of Tomorrow's first season because they did so much of the Hawk story and the Vandal Savage story in this crossover that they were just sort of trying to fill in spaces in Legend of Tomorrow season 1. And that show didn't gain its feet until like the back half of that season, where I think if they did this crossover different and maybe still set up Legends of Tomorrow in some way, but didn't do so much story, it would have helped that show. And once again, it just felt like it was setting up something else. Like it was a crossover to set up another show, but it was still fun. Like especially we got that cool scene where, Vandal Savage has like I can't remember what it was called, like the Egyptian thing, and slams on the ground and kills everyone. Like everyone turns to like a big nuclear explosion or something like that. Everyone turns to skeletons, everyone maimed the Felicity death, everything like that. And Barry had to run back in time. One of the coolest scenes that we had for a few years, like it was probably the coolest scene we had for probably like another season or so until like probably the Flash did something else really, really cool. So that was a really, really cool scene in this crossover, which I still think stands up today or, lives up to it today. At number 6, we have the first crossover that we ever had in the Arrowverse in Flash versus Arrow. This was the season 1 Flash and season 3 Arrow crossover, where it was 2 episodes. Arrow had an episode, Flash had an episode. And one episode was like Barry getting affected by, was it Rainbow Raider, I think it was, and then Flash and Arrow actually had a fight. And then the second episode revolved around Captain Boomerang. I think the more memorable one is the Captain Boomerang moment, or the Captain Boomerang episode. I think that's when you saw Flash and Arrow really team up properly for the first time. But this episode, it was just seeing like Team Flash and Team Arrow and all of them combine, and seeing like some of the Arrow people in Star Labs and some of the Flash people in like the Arrow bunker, and seeing like Harrison Wells interact with all the different Arrow people and stuff. At the time, this was like so cool. This was so cool. Obviously, we're spoilt now from everything else that we've gotten, but that was so cool at the time. Obviously, people question how like Harrison Wells didn't know Oliver Queen was the Green Arrow because I think he's like surprised by it or something like that. But I think that was just for story's sake. But this was like, as a fan, and like you've been watching Arrow since season 1, then you finally get to see these two shows combine, especially when Arrow set up the Flash as well in the halfway through season 2. This was just like such a cool moment, and it felt like it was all worth like staying up to date with the shows and watching them week to week and everything like that. At number 5, this might be a surprise, but I have my reasonings for it. But then some people might agree. Some people might even have it lower on their list. I don't know. But at number 5, I have Elseworlds. Now, Elseworlds, once again, all these crossovers are pretty cool. Like, because when you get to see these characters interact and cross over and everything like that, it's just cool on a base level. But Elseworlds, I felt overall, and once again, this sort of plays into some of the reasonings for the other crossovers, it felt like it was just a setup for Crisis on Infinite Earths. and introducing some elements here and there. Like we got Batwoman introduced into this, but really it's only like I think it's like the middle episode. I think there was 3 episodes in this. I think there was only 3, and I think the middle episode you have Batwoman, and she was only there for like what 15-20 minutes. Wasn't really there long. But it introduced that character, which then played out into Crisis on Infinite Earths, Crisis on Infinite Earths, sorry, and then her own solo show, which I guess went its own different path, and you can argue whether it's really relevant anymore or anything like that, or whether it was worth it. But you got like the black suit Superman, you've got like the Trigger twins and everything like that from like alternate sort of Earth stuff or like alternate reality. Even like Dr. Destiny, which I wish they'd sort of done something with him going forward. Even Psycho Pirate was introduced and they didn't do anything, at least in regards to Crisis on Infinite Earths. Funnily enough, Flash was was the show that brought Psycho Pirate back into the conversation in that one episode from last season. But overall, Elseworlds was cool, and I'm sure everyone remembers, at least if you watched it live, the reaction when Elseworlds ended and the Crisis on Infinite Earths logo and music and everything started playing. It said like next season or whatever it said, or next year. I can't remember what it said underneath, but that was like ultimate hype because everyone wanted Crisis on Infinite Earths, like this crisis situation, and Elseworlds set it up. It was just hype levels to the extreme. And number 4, this is where I actually do place Armageddon. Now, some people might have it even higher. Some people might have it down the bottom because they might not say it's a crossover. And I would say it's an event. And I would put event like sort of halfway between a crossover and just a normal, a normal show. So it involved characters crossing over episode by episode. So I'm going to include it. But Armageddon is one of my favorite storylines that the show has done, that the Flash has done. It's not in like the top 2. I'd probably put it like 3 or 4. So it's not too surprising that I guess that in regards to this ranking, it's at number 4 as well. And this just event crossover, whichever way you want to put it, it just had me unsure as to what was coming next. I thought it was a somewhat good mystery, and even though I don't even know if when they set out to do it, whether it was meant to be a mystery, but like you couldn't predict what was going to happen, and I was really happy with how everything played out and what the resolution was and everything like that. And I can't wait to see where we pick up with it in the rest of the Flash season 8. I don't know if it would have started by now by the time you're watching this video, hopefully not. But yeah, I can't wait to see where it plays out going forward in the rest of this season. And number 3, we have Invasion. Now, Invasion was the first real crossover where we had Arrow, we had the Flash, we had Legends, and we also had Supergirl. This was the first crossover where Supergirl properly came in. And Supergirl didn't really have I don't know if anyone remembers this, but remember when they advertised, it was like 4-night crossover, Arrow, Flash, Legends, and starting it off, Supergirl, and everyone tuned into the Supergirl episode, and the only crossover was literally the last scene where it's like Barry and Cisco, I think, jumping through the thingo, whatever it is, the portal, whatever it is that Cisco makes, the breach, that's what it is. And that was it. And then they ended up replaying that exact same scene in the first episode. And everyone was like, wait, what? They made you watch it. So people went watching Supergirl and just watching the entire Supergirl episode without context just to see that end credits scene. I remember people were angry. I was sort of angry, but I was still watching Supergirl on a weekly basis at that point. So it didn't really bother me because I would have watched it anyway. But Invasion was just cool to see all these characters come together. We got the Hall of Justice for the first time. It was just, like, as I said, having Flash vs. Arrow crossover for that first time was just like your fanboy and your fan within you just like was screaming within, maybe even screaming externally as well. But Invasion just brought it all together. And like that was the point where like Legends had like it's probably its best team together. It was, I think that was probably, I'm going to say that was the peak Arrowverse crossover. But that was like the moment where you went, wow, this is like, it felt like a full on universe and crossover. And like, you probably, like, we didn't think we'd get anything like that in the movies. We still haven't, I guess, in the DC universe. And number 2, we have Crisis on Infinite Earths. Now, Crisis, so obviously number 1 is Crisis on Earth X. We'll just get that out of the way. Now, just to quickly explain, I did Crisis on Earth X as number 1 over Crisis on Infinite Earths at number 2. And so this could be interchangeable. Some people might like Crisis on Infinite Earths more. I think me as an enjoyment level and enjoying the experience, I probably would put Infinite Earths at number one. But as an actual, crossover, the story, everything like that, Earth X, I think, is the clear number one. But just for my explanation, I put Earth X over Infinite Earths just due to Infinite Earths sort of being in the vein of maybe like an Endgame or a No Way Home, and being really great with fan service, but the actual story that they went for, like, you're not going to write home about it. Like, it went for that fan service and that fan enjoyment and delivering to fans over like actually writing anything that big. And Infinite Earth, like Crisis on Infinite Earths in the comics, isn't that grand of a story. It was literally written so they could clean up their universe and make everything somewhat connected. And they sort of did the exact same thing in the TV show, if not maybe tried a bit harder. I think actually they tried to do something else and make some sort of story out of it. But at the end of the day, it was mainly the fan service that they were going for, and I think they achieved that. And Crisis on Earth X was just a good story, and while it had some fan service, as you would expect, it's by far the most complete. That's the word I would use. The most complete Arrowverse crossover that just embraced all elements of all the shows at the time. Because you got to remember that just, that didn't have, that only was 4 episodes. Crisis on Infinite Earths was 5. But Crisis on Earth X just felt like a movie almost. And I felt like every show got their time on screen, if you know what I mean. And it just went over so many cool things. And I think the story was really good as well, and emotional. Like Martin Stein dies there, like just so good. And as I said, I think the word complete is just the best way to describe Crisis on Earth X. But yeah, guys, that is my ranking for all the Arrowverse crossovers we have so far. Fingers crossed that we get a 10-year anniversary one at the end of this year. Probably like, I guess like November, end of November, beginning of December, something like that. Fingers crossed they do something along those lines. It would be a shame if they didn't. But yeah, if we don't get any more, I guess outside of this Earth Prime comic crossover that's coming our way, then that's it, I guess. But fingers crossed that we get something else coming our way. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your rankings. Or you can just give me a top 3 if you don't want to list all 9. But as I said, I'll try and put a comment at the top of the video with all the options so you can just copy and paste them into the order that you want. So yeah, let me know them in the comment section down below, or you can critique my rankings if you want to. That's up to you if you want to do that. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.